We're using the glorious E-Meet S800. So we're not on the ZV one tonight. But I wanted to chime in really quick about what my goal is when I surf. Because it's actually probably not what most people think of when they think of why they surf. And I got to shout out my dad for this goal. I surf so I can surf tomorrow. I know it's almost like some kind of Buddhist monk technique or something, but what you got to realize is that we have our whole lives to surf. And that means that we have to take care of ourselves, our bodies, etc. And if we want to surf until we get nice and old, that means we're going to have to take less risks, be on our A game, and really understand that to surf forever, your goal should always be to surf another day, to surf tomorrow. And it's interesting because this obviously wasn't always my goal. My goal was to get better at surfing. My goal was to land the biggest air, to get the biggest barrel, etc. But I think what's interesting is that when you get older, you're going to get hurt. Stuff's going to happen. Time and life is going to get in the way of you surfing, of you doing your favorite activity. So, to continue doing your favorite activity, your best bet is to practice what you got to do what you got to do, so you can surf again the next day. This means stretching before each surf, stretching after a surf if you have to, staying hydrated, kind of eating properly before a surf, after a surf. While you're surfing, understand your limits. You are not Kelly Slater. You are not Rob Machado. There's no reason to go so big in your session if the next session you're not going to be able to surf at all because you hurt yourself. You can apply this to all sports, I think, and even to life. If you want to do something for as long as you can do it, it's not really like a race to get there. It is a marathon, and you have to pace yourself. So when you get to the finish line, you're okay. You can do another marathon. So whenever I'm surfing now, if I have some crazy maneuver coming up down the line, I have this in the back of my head. I think, all right, well, if my goal is to surf again tomorrow, is going for this super gnarly maneuver like gonna help that goal, or is it gonna hurt that goal? And the older you get, the longer you surf, you realize, like, yeah, landing a sick maneuver is awesome, feels great, but is that how does that affect the goal? If your ultimate goal of surfing is to surf 4 or 5 days a week, landing one big maneuver isn't really going to help that goal. Sure, like you get a little ego boost and you're stoked, but the ultimate goal of surfing is to surf until you're 70, until you're 80. And the only way you can do that is if you take your time surfing, you're not going for big risks, you're enjoying surfing and the flow for what it is. Now, this is even more kind of evident and I think important for something like skiing or snowboarding or even skateboarding. I think you have a bigger chance of getting hurt in theory, skiing and snowboarding. And it's a lot easier to get hurt skiing and snowboarding. I mean, you can just move the wrong way, fall, boom, you're hurt. But especially when you're going for like maneuver snowboarding, it's easy to get caught up in, oh, I gotta land this trick. Oh, I gotta go for this thing. And then you get hurt. And then you can't ski the rest of the trip. Apply that to surfing. this gnarly wedge is coming in. Like, oh, it's the sickest wave ever. Oh, it's kind of critical. Oh, the reef's right there. I could hit the reef if I go. Maybe sometimes you do go. Maybe sometimes you do risk it. But there's no reason to risk it every single time if your ultimate goal of surfing is to surf another day. And I got to shout out my dad again. Shout out Big Bill because, he's older, he's wiser. And a few years ago, he told me, he was like, Travis, what's our goal when we go skiing? And like, I don't know, what's your goal? And he'd be like, to ski another day. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then pretty much since he invented it for himself, I've taken it upon myself and made it my goal. And my goal now is to always surf another day. And that also means like, say you catch one good wave, it's your last wave in. Oh, maybe I'll go get one more wave. We all know that hilarious saying. Let's all just go catch one more. And then the last one more wave, what happens? You get hurt, you get stung by a stingray, you get eaten by a shark, all these things could happen. If your goal was to surf the next day, why didn't you just go in on that last wave you had? So it's interesting when you look at surfing for like just how much of a core staple it is in your life and my life, surfers' lives, but also just how risky surfing can be and how much of a risk activity it ends up being. But if you take away some of the risk by understanding that, well, why do I surf? To feel the flow state, to exercise, to work out, to reset, to get away, turn off the brain, get away from the screens. These are all the reasons you surf. Going for the biggest maneuver or going for the gnarliest section or air, etc. None of that has to do with you surfing till you're 80. Everything else that has to deal with that is your preparation, you understanding that you just want to surf another day. So I'm going to enjoy this experience. I'm going to understand that, oh, the waves are crappy today. Okay, well, maybe they'll be better tomorrow. So I can practice this technique. I can enjoy this day. Oh, this day is like kind of gnarly and huge, and I'm a little scared, and there's a lot of risk out here. All right, I'm going to take it easy. I don't need to go for broke. And we can all see that, when the waves get really big or gets really good, everyone kind of gets really gun ho, and it's people are a little less. People will be stoked, but you can tell there's like a level of ampness that overrides, and people will charge a little harder. It's a little more risky. It's a little more gnarly. But then when when that fire like dies a little bit, and the next day it's a little smaller. If you want to surf again, well, say you went too hard and you got ran over, or you ran over someone, or you broke your board. If your goal is to surf another day, then when those days come, you can understand like, oh, this is a pretty cool day, but I'm gonna stay nice and calm and cool and collected and stick to my goal of surfing another day. So I'm gonna enjoy this day. I'm gonna get amped up, but I understand that this day is gonna pass, and when the next day comes, I'm still gonna have a great day surfing because I did the things I needed to do to stick with the goal. So I just wanted to hop on and kind of give my two thoughts on that because I think it's funny when you ask, why do you surf, and you list the reasons that you surf, but it's like, okay, well then, when you're surfing, what's your goal? Like when you're actually surfing, like you have your why of when you are surfing, when you're out there, what's your goal? Try making that your goal. Try making it, well, my goal is to surf again tomorrow, and just kind of see what happens. It's similar to having a good routine or just really enjoying something. Moderation is kind of key to anything. And even with surfing, you go too hard, you're going to have to pay the price. You want to surf 5 days a week, that means you surf once a day for an hour, or once every other day for an hour and a half. You can't be surfing 3 hours every day. You're just going to burn out. Maybe one day it is pretty good, so you want to go a little harder. And then you understand, all right, but I do want to surf in 2 more days, so I'm going to leave a little bit in the tank just so when that day comes, I can still have a great time and surf then. So it's kind of about like understanding that present moment of surfing is always going to be there. But if you're not physically able to enjoy that present moment, then you're SOL. So there's no reason to go for broke. Like, unless you only get to go to Kelly's Surf Ranch once every 4 years and that's your only day to surf, then yeah, you can go for completely broke and try to bust the rodeo air and do the gnarliest barrel and like this high of water. And then yeah, you're not going to surf for 4 years. So that's all good. But say you're going to Kelly's Surf Ranch for a week and day one you're already like going for broke and you're trying to bust the biggest airs, get the deepest barrels in this thick of water, and then you get hurt. Well, now you can't surf the next 4 days of your Kelly trip. What's more fun, surfing 5 days at Kelly's Surf Ranch or surfing one day? Surfing 5 days. What's more fun, having a whole lifetime of surfing or having 2 years of surfing and then one day you went too big on one of the big swells and you ran into a rock and like hurt your foot for a couple years? So really just, I'm not trying to preach or nothing, but when I kind of made this my new goal with this kind of stuff, it just helped me like just be more in the moment, be more stoked, take each session by session, knowing that there's going to be another session. And when you live in a place like California where there's lots of waves, it is a little easier. I can understand when you live in Florida and you got to strike a hurricane swell and it's like, yo, Travis, I only get one day a month for 3 hours that it is pumping. So you can kind of put that into perspective and, okay, maybe you can charge super hard that day. But you have to understand that if something happens, it's what was your goal? If your goal was to just charge the hardest on the hurricane swell, then hey, you achieved your goal, but I have to pay the price a little bit. But if your goal was to surf the next hurricane swell too, when you're going on the line on the overhead wave, you see that section coming and you understand, oh, if I go for this, it's gonna could be a little risky. Well, maybe you go, maybe you don't. But if you don't go, it's okay because you understood that you didn't go, so you were able to surf the following week. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in for another Heroes Journeys live stream. That was a quick one. Again, check out the rewind if you want. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Till next time. Oh, and please smash subscribe, smash like. If you like this stuff, let me know what more you want to see. The surfboard reviews are in pretty good. I think up next I might do the Machado Cotto versus the mashup review. I think it could be pretty enlightening and fun to watch. Let me know in the comments any boards you're interested in. The last one was the Pod Mod versus Twinsman, and it was cool to see people still stoked on the Pod Mod. I mean, I can shoot the SHIT for a sec here. The Pod Mod again was like one of the coolest boards ever made, and it's fun to see people in the comments still talking about it. Like, because when I talk about the Pod Mod, part of me is like, does anyone even know about that board anymore? And then when I see all the feedback, like, oh, we do like the Pod Mod, it goes to show that a lot of us are in a similar age demographic, on a similar journey. We've ridden similar boards. So let's continue this lifelong journey. Make your goal to surf another day. Peace.